My biggest fear would be when the first comes and I don't get the rent.
I found that my tenant had dumped concrete down my toilet. Can you believe Fair Housing fined me $5,000 for that?
How do you onboard your tenants? What do you do?
I don't even know if I do it right.
If you're a landlord, don't just rent perfect. The Rent Perfect podcast with property expert and private investigator, David Pickron.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Rent Perfect podcast. It's a Friday again today.
I love Fridays.
Good weekends coming up.
Yes.
What you got going on this weekend?
My only daughter's getting married this weekend.
A huge wedding. I'm actually turning a property, so I'd much rather be putting. Well, maybe not, because let me think about a wedding or turning a property. So.
Which one's more expensive? I want to have an arm wrestle with you on that one.
That is so true. I think I'll give you the wedding. Beautiful daughter there. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How's the new son-in-law?
Awesome.
Is he
great
good?
Kid. Great
okay.
kid. Yep.
That's great. You always add that addition to your family.
Yep.
That's good when they fit well. Well, I tell you what. Before we get started, let's get everybody to subscribe.
Absolutely.
We always want people to subscribe and follow us. We appreciate it. We always love to hear from people, too. Comment, call us. You know, this is an active a podcast. I don't hide behind the phone. You call Rent Perfect and ask for me, you'll get me.
Him, yep.
And I love to talk to investors all over the country. I do that every single day, and it's one of my favorite things to do. But, Scott, I'm in the middle of turning a property right now. And had to convince some people to move because I just had too many complaints from the HOA. And been by the property lot. When I've seen some things that I know I need to fix. But I get this email, and it says, "Hey, Dave, when can we expect our deposit back?" Now, keep in mind they've been tenants for 10 years. Now, there's going to be a lot of wear and tear in a home in 10 years.
For sure, yeah.
They had 5 kids. And this was a great family. When I rented to them, the kids were 4 or 5. Now they're all teenagers, and it's just a little different situation. I think we did everything right, but families grow up, and teenagers are teenagers. And
sure. And you outgrow a property, right?
Right. And so I went over there, and I start, taking my checklist. And I take my little Rent Perfect app, and I'm taking pictures to document everything so I know. And so I get this email, and I went ahead and I said, well, check your portal here in a little bit. You'll have all the pictures up there. But with 5 doors with holes in them, ruining the backyard with a above ground swimming pool. And, I don't think there's going to be too much of $1,200 coming back. But while I was over there, the neighbor next door said hi to me. And I said, hey, how you doing? And she's like, well, is your house okay? And I said, well, it's it needs a little bit of work. And she's like, well, they put a hole through the fence all the way through to my side, and I had to fix that on my side. And
if you're not in Arizona, this is a 6-inch cinder block fence.
Right, exactly.
Not a little picket fence. This is a big rip block
that's a good
fence.
point. Yeah, it's not a little hole. I mean,
right.
They're taking a hammer,
right,
and they're coming through this cinder block, and which is very difficult to patch and make look good too. And then she said to me, they used to always pull the mattress out on the second story window and lay out on the roof. And I've always had a great relationship with the neighbors of my rentals, and that's what I want to talk about today. But these guys were also renters and just moved in about a year ago, and I just didn't keep up with the neighbors.
Sure.
And I sat there and went, you know what? I would have loved to have a phone call when that hole came through your fence, because you know what? We would have fixed it. You wouldn't have to bear the cost to fix that, what my tenants did, right? And I would have loved to seen the dangerous kids on the roof, because that would have ended real quick, right? So today I want to talk about neighbors. Sometimes we see them as the nosy neighbor,
right?
But this is all coming to play because I also was at Home Depot the other day, and I'm finally jumped on the Ring doorbell for my own personal house, right?
You're a little late to the game.
I'm a little late to the game, but I jumped on the Ring doorbell, and I had this morbid thought that maybe I'll put a Ring doorbell on all of my rental units. But that might be a little weird for me to get alerted every time someone comes over to one of my tenants.
That'd be a little intrusive as a landlord.
But what is old school Ring? What is that?
Yeah, old school Ring is that neighbor.
Old
right?
school
Yeah.
Ring is, hey, the block watch program. Everyone's watching each other's home. And I went back to this conversation. I was buying this ring, and it was all cluing in on to me that we really need to talk about how important the neighbors of your rentals could be.
Yeah, they can be the eyes and ears, or the effective
be.
ring of that property.
Now, they also can be a pain in the butt, too, and you got to
Sure.
really kind of know them and talk to them and see, how much communications you're willing to take from them, because every neighbor is different. But, maybe I could have saved a few dollars fixing a few things if I would have known to the extent that it was happening. I'm not driving by my home every day. I don't come visit every day.
A little more real time, right? That you saw stuff.
Right.
Oh, that happened today, and that may deter them from doing things in the future because they
Right.
know that you've got an inside man watching out for you.
But, I know that you're a big Shark Tank fan.
Love Shark Tank.
And I watch Shark Tank, and some ideas I think are great, and they pass on them, and others I think are kind of weird, and they take them. And some companies you hear about in the future, and other companies go away. But tell me the history of Shark Tank and Ring.
So back in 2013, a guy came on and he introduced a product called Doorbot. Kind of a dorky name. Ring's got a much better ring to it, right? But so
Kind of a technical.
yeah.
You could see that technical brain
Right.
going, "Oh, Doorbot.
Yeah.
That'd be a great name."
and effectively it was kind of the preliminary version of what Ring is today, where you had a camera, a Ring doorbell on your front door that would then alert your phone, call your phone, so you could have a conversation, visual, see who's at your front door, but then have a conversation with them as well. What was interesting to me is I love that section of Shark Tank where they do the what's happened since they were on Shark Tank, kind of a recap thing. And if you go back and look at what Doorbot, he was looking for $700,000 for a 10% investment in his company, which was a $7 million valuation. Every one of the sharks passed. They did not see the vision of, I don't know that people are going to want to have that access to see who's at their front door. I mean, who's going to want that? And it was too expensive. It was like $189 or something.
Right.
Too expensive, too clunky. People aren't going to want to have that. They're not going to use their smartphone to do that kind of thing. As we know, I mean, things, progress pretty quickly. 5 years later, right, he sells to Amazon for $839 million because people caught the vision of, I love being able to see who's at my front door.
Well, especially when Amazon drops off packages. I mean, how many people now are at your front door? We used to go out and get our goods. Now we have so many delivery people coming in. There's a lot more people at our front door that we want to know about.
Yeah.
So crazy to have that
Right.
vision.
But I love. I'm a Ring owner. I have Ring doorbells at my full-time residence and at my secondary home.
Okay.
I've got cameras inside my secondary secondary home. I've got the security system from Ring. I'm a Ring guy.
Okay, so what does Ring do for you then?
Ring is a peace of mind. Ring gives me the ability to feel like, okay, I know who's on my property. I know what's happening. The front door is the entry to my house. I mean, you can get through some side gates and stuff, but really, you're going to come to my house, it's the front door.
Right.
And so for me, it's just a peace of mind knowing, okay, I have some control over what's happening in that interaction front door to entering my house.
So tie that into neighbors then.
Sure. No, I love the fact that neighbors kind of are that second set of eyes, right?
Right.
Neighbors are concerned about their investment just as I am. So if I'm a landlord, I want my investment obviously is to stay safe and to stay valuable. And again, like you said, I'm not going to be driving by there. I'm not that creepy landlord that's going to drive by every day.
Right.
But I do have a neighbor who's there every day, usually 24/7. Somebody's seeing the property, and it's critical for me to know and have a relationship with that person so they can really communicate that back to me. Hey, do you know what's going on here? Hey, did you know the cops were at your property last night? No, I have no idea they were at my property last night.
Right. No, I love that because we are really about putting doorbells on the front. But guess what, guys? Every one of our rentals has several rings all the way around it and can totally alert us. You're right, though. We control the four corners of our property, but our concern of our neighborhood goes past that. It goes down the street. Mm-hmm. It goes, if there's kids flying up and down on motorcycles or almost getting hit by cars, there's concerns there that people have about their neighborhood. And if they see something going on at your house and they know you, then you might get a text, a phone call, or an email. So I think neighbors are super important. So I always drive the neighborhood, first of all, when I'm looking at buying an investment property, and I think, who am I going to attract in this neighborhood, right? We can get to the screening later, and we can get to what our criteria is, and we can get what the score we're going to require, but who is this neighborhood going to bring in? And that tells me the type of person that probably is going to apply. And it also tells me the type of neighbor that I'm going to have.
Yeah.
Right? So if I'm coming to a neighborhood and there's couches in the front yard and cars up on blocks, I'm not sure that neighbor's really going to call me when the cops come, because the cops maybe might come to their house too. Now I'm making generalizations
Right.
here, but hopefully you understand what I say. And I think all of us investors realize what neighborhoods look like and what kind of people we can.
Yeah, but we worry about the
expect.
carrying condition of our property, right? And
Right.
if the neighbor's property, and I'm sure there's people out listening today who go, yeah, I had that guy, that neighbor, and it was the
Right.
one car, then it was 2 cars on blocks, then it was the couch, and it
Right.
just progressively got worse and worse and worse. And so, yeah, there's some concern there for sure.
So when I buy in a rental property, I always go to my 2 neighbors and maybe even a neighbor across the street. And I always say, hey, I just want to introduce myself. I just bought the property next to you. It is going to be a rental, but I want to let you know what we're going to do to make sure I have a great tenant and you have a great neighbor. We're going to do a full background on them. We're going to make sure they have no – and I kind of tell them my criteria and what we're looking for. And I've had them say to me before, well, have you had a guy have a tenant yet? Oh, no, I just bought it. I have somebody.
I know a guy, yeah.
My family member, and all of a sudden I've gotten tenants from knowing the neighbors too, right? Little side thing. But I let them know that, hey, listen, I'm one of the good guys. I manage it the right way. We're not going to put, somebody that's going to put you in danger next door. And so I build a relationship with them, and kind of like, I got your back now, wink, wink. If you know something that I need to know, please let me know.
I think that is an amazing practice to do.
Yeah.
Every landlord should do that.
Yeah, some landlords want to hide, and I've always heard strategies. I don't tell people I'm the landlord, I'm the property manager, and those are all great strategies. And we're just giving you a strategy that if you feel like it would work for you, use it. If you feel like it doesn't, then don't. Yeah. Remember, the way we manage here isn't the way everybody should manage. We just give our ideas and let you manage the way you want to manage.
But having an advocate as a neighbor, I think that's critical. Having that advocate who's like. And because you've taken the time to introduce yourself and say, this is important to me, all of a sudden it becomes important to them.
Absolutely.
So that's a great practice. I would encourage everybody to do that practice.
Absolutely. And then what else I do is, once I find the right tenant that's going to go in there, which we call business partner all the time, right? The right business partner that goes in there, I try my hardest to introduce the two. Hey, this is my new business partner, my new tenant that's moving in here. This is a neighbor, Bob. Meet Jim. Jim, hey, if you need a lawnmower sometimes, if you need, and I try to get that good relationship going. The reason I think that's important is, if they know I know the neighbors, I don't want to make anybody feel like I'm watching them or anybody's going to tell on them. But that I know the neighbors, then maybe you might tell the kids, a little bit more often, hey guys, quit, shooting BB guns, around the neighborhood. So
there's some increased accountability because everybody knows everybody. Yeah, which I love.
And then I always encourage, and this is important too, because it's the way you do it. And that is, I encourage the neighbors to contact me really only on the big important things. I don't want to hear about the little tiny stuff that you guys can figure out.
Yeah, the sprinkler overspray on my windows, or.
Yeah, I just introduced you guys. Hopefully you have a relationship and you can communicate with each other and take care of if you have anything small. But I want to know, is there a mattress on my roof and people are laying out on it, right?
Yeah.
Did they break down my side gate and ripped it completely off the block walls? Did they take a hammer to the walls and put a hole in your backyard? Those are big things that I want to know. And the thing about the holes in the cement block in the backyard is, I could drive by that home a million times. I'd never see them because they're in the backyard.
Right.
But they went in their backyard and looked at a hole right through it, and they went and patched it without ever calling me because they didn't know me.
Yep.
Okay. So drive by the neighborhood, see who it's going to kind of attract, meet the neighbors when you buy a property, introduce your tenant to the neighbors, and then make sure that you state, hey, I'd love to hear from you if there's anything of big concern to you at all. Did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so. I love that concept, David, because in our world we've become so screen focused or screen centric that we kind of have quit building communities, right? I mean, a lot of people don't know their neighbors, And this is a great way for you to at least start building the groundwork of this little community. And I think that's super important. That's a global issue. But
I've lived in several homes in my younger years that I couldn't even tell you who my neighbors were.
Yeah.
And I'm embarrassed to say that. You get in your car, you leave, you get in the garage, you go in, you know.
Yep.
Neighbors can be a huge asset to investors. And I think there are individual Ring doorbells, and we don't even have to pay the $190 for it.
Yeah, and the $10 a month.
Awesome. Well, Scotty, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Just know how valuable that neighbors are, you know, and they can save you a lot of time and a lot of money. Scott, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely.
And until next time, continue to rent perfect.